Welcome, Adventures. Steam Next Fest is here, one of my most favorite times of the year. Every year, guys, my wish list just keeps on growing. This year, I didn't want to overwhelm myself, so I narrowed down the scope of what I was looking at. Recently, on the Alvin Angers channel, we decided to make a dedicated playlist to boss rush games, and I thought, what better time than to look at some upcoming boss rush titles. I chose my most top 5 unique boss rush titles in no particular order, guys. I was so surprised to find so many great boss rush games in development. But with no further ado, let's check this video out. Vamonos. First up, we have Gurei, a Japanese-inspired boss rush game. It follows the main character Rei, who is a human spirit bound with the duty of defeating these mystical entities of nature called the kami and obtain their power. The bosses you'll face are derivatives of animals. In the opening scenes of the game, you'll see depictions of the bosses you'll face. You'll notice that there appears to be a total of 9 bosses, and at first step might seem like far too few, but I'll explain why that isn't the case. In Gurei, you can fight the bosses in any order, and it has a dynamic difficulty system where the boss's difficulty is dependent on the order you fight them. The first boss you fight will always be a 1 difficulty, and the subsequent bosses will be a 2 difficulty, and then so on. The developers say that the boss at the start of the game could very well be the final boss in a different route. The replayability factor is there, but to what extent we won't know till the full release because we only have access to the 4 bosses in the demo. But what I can tell you is that the bosses were a lot tougher down the line depending on which bosses you fought first and which ones you chose to fight later. They also had additional movesets and just felt much more aggressive. Additionally, when you defeat a boss, you get their specific powers, so unlocking powers will also be dependent on what route you choose to take, and therefore have an effect on what abilities you bring into the next boss battle. Kind of felt like Mega Man in that kind of way, honestly. The way you choose the boss's weaknesses to defeat them more easily. I used the shield ability I earned from the fish boss to block attacks, and the Sith ability I earned from the snake boss to get off additional damage. And in advance, guys, if this isn't a Discovery channel, so if someone in the comments tells me this isn't a fish boss, you may be right. The game takes place in a surreal castle located between the human and spirit world. As you progress, you'll encounter unique characters from Japanese mythology and expect to find hidden secrets and side objectives. As of June 9th, the developers said that less than 100 players have managed to beat the final boss. And guys, You're
not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Unfortunately, Gurei has no release date. Up next, we have Unyielder, an intense FPS boss rush game that is also a roguelike. Let me tell you guys, the game is chaotic and wacky, but it works. Plays like a really good fast-paced boomer shooter. Setting aside from some technical issues, when it worked, the gunplay was spectacular. From the snappy gunplay to the wacky comic book flair, it all pairs really well together. The game follows the principles of a roguelike, where you clear one room after another, and upon completion, you're rewarded. At the start of each run, you're given a chest that contains loot like a random starter weapon and a selection of perks. Both gun and perks are run specific and are removed when you are defeated. The boss rush element part is that every room just has one enemy, and that one enemy is the boss. You have minor bosses, major bosses, and sexy special boss. The developers also said you could build your final boss, and while I didn't get to experience it, it sounds like an interesting feature. You'll be using this to discover hidden character classes, weapons, perks, and other secrets. The game goes as far as calling itself a looter shooter, and they build features to support that. While I didn't come across an abundance of guns, I did find a vault for storing loot, which can be accessed when you find these restrooms between your boss fight rooms. The restrooms resemble that of your main hub, where you can launch new runs, buy loot from boss, access your vault for loot, change characters, or visit the headless statue to level up your player mastery. Upon completion of a run, win or lose, you gain experience, and when you level up, you can select a skill from the mastery, and the mastery tree appears to be character specific. We were only given access to one character in the demo, but I look forward to see the extent that character classes change the way we play. Surprisingly, Unyielder has a story mode, and even if the prologue was a bit difficult to follow, the characters I came across looked unique and I really enjoyed the art style. But also, equally upsetting is that they decided to tell their story through these underwhelming scenes. Unyielder takes place in Erebus, the capital city of Antarctica in 1972, a hot zone. And after decades of incidents, the capital city has finally fallen, and you must journey the war-torn lands of the city. Unyielders is expected to release sometime in 2025 and is one that I'm really interested to see how it unfolds. Next up, we have Abyssal Blade, a pixel art boss rush game that is inspired by MMO raid mechanics from games like WoW Mythic and Final Fantasy XVI, and where all attacks have this one white mechanic. Man, this one was probably the most difficult from the 5, but I'm sure there are MMO fans that are far better equipped than me for this one. I love MMOs, but they are a genre I didn't get into until way later in life. Not until I started working at 18 years old and I racked enough money for a PC. That thing sounded like a really old rusty air conditioner anytime I booted it up, but I was able to play MMOs like Guild Wars 2 and Star Wars The Old Republic, games that I still revisit every now and then. I didn't have many PC friends, so raids are something I hardly did, so completing this felt weirdly rewarding. The story goes you awaken in the void, burdened by grief, and at last you find the strength to rise, but the path forward won't be easy. You only have 1 HP, take your blade and break free from the Abyss. In the Abyss Blade, you take on 5 unique boss challenges, each embodying one of Kubler-Ross stages of grief: denial, anger, bargain, depression, and acceptance. Kubler was a psychiatrist who was known as the pioneer in near-death studies. The developers say each encounter explores a different emotional struggle expressed through distinctive mechanics and various gimmicks. If we do a full review of this game, it's something that I actually love to delve more into and analyze. But in a demo, you fight against denial. This boss had a lot of mechanics that required memorization, often leaving me confused with the flux of things I had to memorize just to survive. If you're currently looking for a challenging experience, you can grab Abyssal Blade now, as it released just a couple days ago on June 20th and is currently on sale for only $4. On the last note, I think this game would actually be awesome to play with a buddy, but at the same time, I could see how that could be infuriating. This next one, while unique and charming, was one of my biggest disappointments, and you'd naturally ask, why would I put it on my list then? And here's why. I think it's a game that easily captures your eyes with its wacky animations and humor. The animations were inspired by Class Punch-Out and the popular indie hit Cuphead, as everything you need from a hit boss rush game: an ensemble of unique and funny boxers to challenge. Each boss has their own wacky introductions that come in these short but funny cutscenes. There's a campaign and over 15 bosses to fight. Additionally, there are also customizable perks and abilities. My biggest concern was how short the boss fights were. The pace at which I was moving from boxer to boxer felt way too fast. Bosses were too easily defeated, and the punches only ever felt impactful if they were special attacks. I played many boss rush games up until this point, and I've always come out the other side very familiar with the boss mechanics by the end of it. But with this one, the fights were far too short to remember anything really. On a positive note, I think they could mix it up a bit by adding a get up mechanic for bosses as a method of prolonging a match, similar to real life boxing where they have a countdown from 10. Might also make for some really cool Rocky Balboa moments. Big Boy Boxing currently doesn't have a release date. Nonetheless, I've wishlisted it as I'm looking forward to see the game at its full potential. The last one on my list was one of my favorites. We have Omut, a shoot-'em-up 2D horror boss rush experience. The opening scene, as explained, is like a fever dream, a swirling red vortex and a talking house, beckoning you into the airy embrace at the heart of a dark, enigmatic forest. The player is tasked with escaping a nightmarish, ominous forest and solving the riddle of the red pool. When I was playing this, oddly enough, I got a lot of Little Nightmare vibes. You play as this poor child that would definitely be scarred for life if he makes it out alive. You'll fight over 17 twisted bosses. As you defeat them, you'll slowly unlock abilities and weapon upgrades. In the demo, we already got to experience some of those upgrades that included a different form of attack and a dash ability that both helped us later with boss encounters. Omut will be a game where you will die a lot, and I do mean a lot, because it demands precise actions as one hit is death. But Omut does a really great job at bringing you right back into the action. In the demo, I also already encountered an open map that branched toward different boss encounters, encountered some creepy NPCs with dialogue choices. Not sure the extent or if the choices will even matter, but I'm really interested in seeing how it all plays out. It's a must buy for me. There is no release date as of yet, but we will just have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought of my list. If you have any recommendations, feel free to drop them in the comments below, as we are currently on a journey to take on as many boss rush games as possible before I die. Give this video a like if you think I earned it, and subscribe to keep up to date with the latest videos. You can find my last boss rush video here if you're interested. And as always, guys, keep your head up, and I'll see you guys on the next one.